Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, there we go. Audio's working. Hello. Welcome to the party. Time to get started.
Lately, I've been thinking, I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier.
So what I'm going to be doing in this session is I'm going to be developing the class selection system in the spawn menu. Because I created a new spawn menu for Empires. It looks like this. It's kind of ugly because I'm not a UI designer. But it's whatever. So you can select a spawn point and then you accept the spawn and spawn in. But what I want to do is I want to add so I'm going to be changing this up a little bit. So right now I have like 2 tabs here for infantry classes and vehicles. Then I have spawn points and squads. I'm going to put infantry classes, I'm going to delete this button. Move vehicles up to the top here, so this is like a 3-tab category right here. And then when I click spawn points, it'll have spawns in the classes. When I click squads, it'll be one big column here. And then when I click vehicles, it'll also be a big column, but it'll change the map into a vehicle configuration screen. So right now I'm going to do the class select. This map kind of sucks, so we're going to test on the Nice Canyon. Because the Nice Canyon is beautiful. Yeah, I'll be working on it in UMG. I'll have to put a spawn point in the game, otherwise I can't spawn. No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, once more textures get PvE. Well, this map right here, this specific version of Canyon, we're not using. Just because it was imported from the source engine, it requires a lot of effort to rescale all of the assets correctly, and then the Oryx trees look like garbage. However, the new Canyon looks fucking beautiful. Once it finishes compiling all the shaders. But yeah, the new Canyon is gorgeous, and I like it a lot. So, this will be the map I demo this session on. Let's put a bunch of spawns in here. This spawn is any tag match to say this is team 2. This one is team 1. Okay, got spawn points. Okay, so let's start diving into the class selection. So we have one class right now, which I should probably create a second class just for testing. But right now we only have one class, so I'm going to duplicate this guy and call it the engineer. And he is a engineer. Not a rifleman. But he can hold rifles, because I don't have anything else right now. So let's go in and let's double check to make sure these guys are loading, because I might have to update. So what I'm trying to do right now is in character class. Cool. So this is showing me that the classes are loading in the asset manager. The asset manager is underlying system that allows us to like query for all items of a given type. So the type is going to be the Imp character class. So yeah, there's that guy. So I need to make sure that's loading. And then in-game HUD, selection screen, not selection screen, player HUD, spawn screen. Spawn screen. So here's my spawn screen, UMG. It's, you know, UMG. If you've played around with UMG before, you basically understand what's going on here. If you haven't, then, well, it's UMG. So what I want to do here is I want to merge these guys into one panel. So I'm actually going to create a new UMG widget, I think, here, called the class bar, or the spawn bar. Yeah, let's call it the spawn bar. And its goal is to essentially be these two guys right here. And then I want to replace this with a widget switcher. I want to remove these guys. Okay, so this needs a refresh ability. What is the name of that? Okay. I'm just getting rid of this. I'm getting rid of. We'll get that later. Okay, so I want to get rid of the squad stuff. Top left. So this should just be. I want to get rid of that. I want to get rid of that. Place that with that. Place that. Fill there. Oh, incorrect. Wrap this with a vertical box. Fill it. Add a horizontal box to that. Yeah, so the plan for today is a class system. Essentially, I have a screen that is, I showed it earlier. I have a screen that allows you to select spawn points, and I'm transforming it right now into a class. I'm putting the second box here as a class select thing. So I am not a UI designer. I am a programmer. So this is going to be, it'll be fine. It'll just look kind of funky. Let's shrink the text down here. Sorry if any of you are hearing Discord messages while I... that is me. So this will be the spawn button. This will be the squads button. And this will be the vehicles button. So you click the spawn tab, you get this. You click squads, you get a long list of things. A single panel here that is all the squads, the ability to create a squad or join a squad. And then vehicles gives you a list of all the vehicles, and then it also transforms this guy right here so that it shows the vehicle selection screen. Another thing that'll happen is in the squad or the class list, the class list is going to have a customize button, and that will also transform this map into a customization screen for character classes. So that way you can, change your weapon, change your other stuff, etc., etc. So let's hook up these buttons. Spawn button goes to spawn bar widget, which is a variable. Spawn bar widget is this guy widget. Switcher is a variable. Spawn bar widget switcher. You click the tab, sets this to be the active widget. The painted blueprint. This needs to be moved. I'm trying to think of how to move this, because the accept button is not known to the spawn bar widget. Maybe I would add a function to this. Add it to this interface, maybe. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Uh, Why is this not blueprint callable? Well. Okay, how finicky this specific node is. Okay, there we go. Which is not a panel. That's why it was not allowing it to do that. Okay, so the idea here is that as I add more panels, I will add them to this array. This array will loop through, accept all of the things when they're accepted, yada yada yada, so each one knows that it is accepted. Same thing happens when it is refreshed, which I need to implement that code right now. Okay, spawn screen works now. Spawn bar. Okay, so now we have our spawn bar. Okay, so I should probably pad this a little bit, maybe. No, I don't need to pad it. Thinking. What is the color of this border? There we go. There's a nice little border there. So the buttons aren't just floating. Okay, so I'm comfortable with that. Let's put the classes in here now. So I need a class list with or entry. Where is the aircraft? There is no aircraft. Not yet, at least. Yes, I'm trying to make everything data driven. Sorry, I'm not like super paying attention to chat as I quickly move through things. But yes, I'm trying to make this data driven. Essentially, what will happen is we're going to query the asset manager for all classes that match a certain tag, and you'll notice in the classes when we go. Let me finish renaming this object. When we go over here into the actual classes, each of these classes have tags. So like, for example, this one is a class rifleman, and it's also a Bernodi faction class. This one is Bernodi and engineer. So what I need to do is when you're on the team Bernodi, if the team is like, okay, what kind of classes does this team have? We go look at the team definition for the Bernodi. They have available classes, any that are, well, that's wrong. It should be team faction Bernodi. Okay, it's right, but it's wrong. There we go. Any team faction Bernodi. So essentially, any class that has the tag team.faction.Bernodi, it will query, pull it in to this spawn widget is the idea, the spawn screen. So you'll see all of them. We can customize this, right? So all I need to do if I want to change what kind of classes are available to a given team, I just change this tag right here and the user interface updates. So on and so forth. UI data, cast it to that type, and now I have access to those values. And I can add and remove different types of properties and things like that. It's pretty cool. And then one last thing. Let's set up the selection border. Alright, if we're selected, set the brush color. Yada yada. This should give some feedback to the user that they have selected this class. They have clicked on this class. And then when we are... Alright, done. So, later on, I'm going to probably revisit this later on in the stream and add more detail to this. But this is just the entry widget, and I need it to just do something as we move on here. Okay, next step. So now we have a bunch of class names here, which we can then select. I'm going to turn these into like little cards. So that'd be kind of cool. Let's see. I just need to double check to make sure I expose the right thing to Blueprint here. Would be in this one of these plugins. These are Arc Inventory, Arc. All my Arc plugins are going up on Unreal Engine Marketplace soon. Oh, a friend of mine posted a raid. Tomorrow too. Okay, back to what I was doing. Function library. Okay, so I need to write some C++ code real quick. In my Blueprint function library. You need to just copy. Let's copy this guy right here. So what I'm doing right now is I'm running the code to query matching Empires classes. What's the name of this file name? UE4 character class. Okay, so now I need to include the ARC blueprint inventory blueprint library. Is that right? Nope, that wasn't right. It's in root. There it goes. Okay, and then we call so I wrote this code a long time ago to query a bunch of items by tag inside of the asset manager, which is a very helpful utility function. Okay, I don't bother with that one. And it's this guy right here, query matching assets. It's a templated function. So, fun fact, you can't call templated functions in Blueprint. So. Why did I make this a bool? Oh, yeah. Alright, is that correct? I haven't actually touched this code in a long time. Yeah, okay, that's all I need to do. But it works. And then I need to include the character class header, which is in character class. Pro tip, copy paste everything. There's no such thing as bad copy pasting. I'm gonna assume that's correct. That's just lying to me. Sometimes the red squiggles lie. Okay, this should work. So let's save everything and restart the editor. Yeah, it's mediocre in Unreal Engine. It works sometimes. The IntelliSense, that is. Sometimes it just doesn't. And fuck you, that's why. So now we wait. Because compiling takes its sweet time sometimes. I picked the class selection just because I didn't have to write a ton of C++ code, though some of it I do. Did not like that. Did I add the T-star? I did add the T-star. Whoopsies. Oh boy. Did I not expose this to... What is this error? Non-resolved external symbol. It's a public dependency. Does it have to be inlined? I don't think it does. Also, hello, JabXD. Welcome to the stream. I'm pretty sure that template does not have to be inlined. I've done this before. You're probably right. Okay, well, there's an easy fix to that. As I said, copy paste everything. I don't really feel like actually fixing that and putting this whole thing cannot be in the header file, so I need to move it because there's just a lot of shit here. So yeah, I think you're right. So I'll just do that. Bummer. Seriously. What am I forgetting? It's the asset manager it's complaining about. It's because I included core minimal here. Oh, I got core minimal there. I forget where the asset manager is. That was not it. Asset manager is in classes engine. Yay, nah. Just gonna bitch about that. Yeah, I could probably do that. That's just effort. Though you can use the new 425 determines output pin function for that, so you can actually expose that to Blueprint better. I kind of wanted to do that. Okay, that worked. That should compile. Where am I from? Portland, Oregon. West Coast, Best Coast. It has been pouring rain all day today. So I'm spending some time building video games. Making empires. Actually, I just played a ton of Empires earlier today, and it was a lot of fun. Reinforces a lot of my ideas of what I want to do with the UE4-Empires later on down the road. Okay. We're back. Let's go back to the other map. The other map is better. I need to... Soviet Shark put his map in the wrong spot. Coast is in the root maps folder. What time is it here? It's 4:51 p.m. Sexy map. Okay, back to game HUD, player HUD. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to query all of these classes now when we refresh. So let's sequence this. And then we... Yeah. So let's query. Matching Empires classes. So now we need to build our query, which luckily is provided for us in our team. So if we get the primary team from the player, primary team from the player, player, then cast this, get the definition. Then cast this definition to the imp one. Oh no, I just need to get the UI data. Get UI data from team definition. Cast this to the empires. That's not correct. No, I don't want the UI data. I want the class. So cast this to. Is it the BP one that is defined, or is it the empires one? Team definition function is the C++ class. So that was correct. Then I want to get the default. Boom. Yes, I'm not checking for null pointer multiple times in this chain. We'll deal with that later. So now we got a bunch of character classes, which we then add to the class list. Set items. Boom. 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 Let's double check that our asset manager picks up those classes again, just in case, because sometimes it forgets when I restart the editor. exist. Load them. We'll deal with loading later. Load them before factions. Haven't determined yet. Right now, everything is set up so that we can just add more factions as we want. But right now, I'm just getting an F and VF it. NF and BEN. Boom. And there we go. They are there in the list. So now I can add the rest of the classes. Boom. So voila. I'll deal with these errors later. Okay, so now we have our class list. Now I need to, when you accept and spawn, I need to set your selected class. Get selected class. Get selected item. This is return a class object. And then I want to grab the player, character class, bulk player subsystem, which is the funniest node I've ever seen in my entire life when you do this. Set intended class. Why is this not exposed? So right now, we haven't done any of the configuration. So this is set up right now. This object has a selected items array. We'll get to that. But for now, we just set the intended class. This should fail validation, I think. Let me double check. It won't fail validation. Okay. So now we need to write some C++ code to spawn us the intended character class, which luckily is in the game mode. At finish restart player. No, it's... I think it's finish restart player. Where do I do this? Alright, have a good night. Thanks for joining the stream. I want to do spawn default pawn 4. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, let's do it right here. So it's a Blueprint native event. Maybe I'd do... We do this guy right here, actually. Maybe it's finish restart player. Set player defaults. That's what I want to do. Hey, Sir Kane. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so let's, if this is a player character, no, base character. I'll do that later. It's workout time. Okay, got that included. So what we're trying to do here is we want to set the, we know what class we are, and we want to give the class, or we want to give the player the items they've selected, but we also want to make sure that they have a valid player class. So that needs to happen here. No, that's happening in can restart. So we know that they have a valid player class by now, because I've already written that code, which is right somewhere. I've written it somewhere. Let's check to see if they have a valid character class. So on our base character, we need to actually set our class. So I don't actually have a class here. Let's. This is a replicated property of what class our character is. Because we can change our selected class, and we're going to in a future, like, I'll write some code to change the selected class, but really the game mode should be the one changing the class of the character. The player shouldn't be able to do that themselves. They should send a request to the game mode, and the game mode should determine whether or not it's possible to change their class. That's kind of the idea, because the game mode may have different rules about what players can be what classes, or maybe somebody writes a mod that enforces class distribution, right? You must have a certain number of classes, so if you want to switch to like a rifleman or something, and there's already too many riflemen, then we can implement that in the game mode. But for now, let's just say the game mode is the only one that can set the character's class. So we also need the player character's intended class. So the intended class, the FM character class selection, character class selection. Okay, so now we have their class selection. We know what they want. We know it's valid because by this point it's valid. If it's not valid, I'll implement the validation check later. So we know by this point it's valid. So now we need to set everything. What is the type of this array? So now we have the selected item. We need to generate it. What is this type? Oh, it's a primary asset ID. Blah. Means it could be invalid. Okay. Boom. Okay, so what I did here, did a lot of writing code. So I'm using my Arc inventory system, which has a lot of like item stack and item generation and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, I might write blogs about it. I'm releasing this on the Unreal Engine Marketplace sometime soon. It's going through review process right now over at Epic. So it should be up in the next week or so. If you want to play around with it yourself, it's pretty cool. Anyway, what the item generation system does is it creates there's an item generator that exists for this item, and it produces that item, an item stack of that item. Item stacks can be one item, or it can be a stack of items, so on and so forth. But it just so happens, I'm trusting that whatever this item stack is valid at this point. I've done a lot, there is a way for me to determine if this is a valid item or not. And I already have that set up. I'm just trusting that it's all valid at this point. Because if it's not, we've got a problem. It would be a bug. So what I'm doing is I'm setting the character selected class to be whatever class they want to be. Then I'm looping through all of their selected items to find the item generator that they've selected, produce an item stack out of that, and then put that item stack into the slot that they've selected that item to go into. The class defines which item slots can contain which item generators. So, for example, since let's say the rifleman for the rifleman and the engineer can carry rifles and the engineer can carry SMGs. So the class definition here has a map that allows me to set which item slot can contain which items. And then I validate that the selected item that the user has selected is of that type. So that way the player can't, or the client can't hack or whatnot and say, I'm an engineer, but I want a rifle. So on and so forth. So that should work. I need to make some includes because I need to include the item, just arc inventory. Yay, singular headers. Okay. Save all this. Save, save, save. So let's compile this code, see what happens. Should not do anything because I don't have anything set up properly. God, it's really raining outside. Good, it was too hot yesterday. The rain will cool everything down. Oh boy, errors. Oh, we just love errors. Compile errors the best. So as it turns out, I'm a fairly messy programmer when it comes to making compile errors. I just kind of hack away and then clean everything up. Why do all the work when the compiler does it for you? That's what I say. Oh, it requires the full reference. Okay. I'm trying to remember how to do this. It's been a while. Okay. Get first slot. Boom. I did it again. Did I not expose that to? Cat. No, I didn't. And we're back. Okay. Okay, so the character class selection is set here. When we accept, all of this done. So now let's test. Okay. I want to spawn as Rifleman. So now let's check. View options, choose world and server. And our selected class is Rifleman. So, now we have a class selection menu. Excellent. So, now let's get some configuration going. Let's just make... Okay, let's make this first. Wrap with a vertical box. Then wrap with a horizontal box, or add a horizontal box to it. And we might want a size widget here. So we have a min desired height of 120. Sounds good. What does that look like? Smaller widget. Yeah, that might be enough space. Yeah, that might be good enough. Let's add some spacing between these bad boys. 15 pixels. 30 pixels. Nope, that was not it. Actually 15 pixels. There we go. Yeah, 15 looks good. So now we need to create a list of entry widgets for this, entry cards. Basically to show off, okay, these are the items that are in this slot that you've selected, and a customize button. Vertical. Fill it. Do I want a customize button on every single widget? That is the real question. Yeah, I think it's fine. Oh, 15 is way too much. Something like that, maybe? I don't know if I like that. trying to figure out how I want to do this. Because this looks fine, but I want to show what items you have selected here on this card. I'm gonna have to box the selection object, I think. That is not what I wanted. Oh, class entry widget. Why does the small card need to know the class? This needs to know the class. So it needs to produce a number of them equal to the number of items that are selected in the card. I also need to store these in somewhere. Interesting. Because I'm going to have to store all of the user's last selected things, and probably also store... I'll probably also want to store, like, saved classes as well. That could be kind of cool. Have, like, a list of saved presets, and when the presets are available because of research or something, they show up in the class selection list. I might implement that as well. I would have to implement a save file, though. Okay. But I need to box an object here. Box one of the selected items. Item selection. that made me jump. Thanks for following. I forgot that I had a sound effect when people followed and I jumped. I haven't used this stream in a long time. This will be the item generator, of which there is a UI data from. And that UI data will contain the image that I want to put on the screen when you have the item selected. I think, yes. Yeah. Let's check our item generators. Hey, Shandy. I was in your squad today, and it was good. We won Cyclopean, because they were unable to take the city. And despite that match going horribly, horribly wrong, we still won. It was a good match. I enjoyed that one greatly. Need an item generator. Okay. So we have item data now, or UI data for the item generator, the small item icon, and a large item image. I need to find the BEAR in here. Imported assets. Materials. Materials legacy. It's probably in here somewhere. Hey, look, there's John Shandy's massive folder of stuff that just goes forever. Oh no, that one wasn't. I had to rename some of your stuff, Shandy. Right now I'm implementing the class selection UI and getting class selection working. So that way you can select which class you want. Kind of important. Probably under VGUI maybe? Oh no, these are all materials. This is not where I want to be. Textures. That's where I want to be. Material source. Imperial. Vehicles, crown, maybe. Nope, that's not where I want to be. Materials legacy maybe? this stuff all imported in weird spots, and I have no fucking clue where anything is. Oh boy. What even are these things? Guns. This is promising. Aha! I found the guns. All right, that is rifle 1. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have a small item icon for this. Yep. Yep, I make video games for a living. Port games. Right now I'm working on a non-game project. I don't know if it's announced or not, so I don't know if I can talk about it. But I currently work for a non-game project in Unreal Engine, so... yeah. So we're just gonna... What's the name of this brush? It's gonna look like absolute garbage, but that's not what I wanted to do. But that's fine. I'm okay with it looking somewhat like garbage until we get actual UI icons for these things. Right. Cram that image into a 32 by 32 thing. Okay. So that'll give us some spawn bar, or this will give us some things. And then I need to... When these are generated, I need to get a selection. The previous selected thing. I can't do most of it. I can only do the code and gameplay stuff. That's one of the main things I've been looking for help is art, which I don't have any artistic talent whatsoever. The spawn screen looks currently like this, which shows I have no artistic talent whatsoever. Here is the spawn screen. It works. Everything's functional. We can style it to look much better, but I'm really bad at that part. I'm just trying to get things working. And then like animations and art and that kind of stuff, I don't know how to do any of those things. And they didn't port easily from Source Engine, so I'm just getting as much working as I can. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice having help, though. I don't like doing everything by myself, but it is nice. I like having help, but yeah, I could do quite a bit of this by myself. It helps to log in or wake up in the morning and like sit down and see that a bunch of people have already implemented a bunch of stuff, so I don't have to do it. It's very nice. Okay, so I think I'm trying to think of how to do. I need a map of character classes to the previous created or the previous chosen loadout. But I don't know where to put that. Maybe in the save game? Maybe in the save game. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it in the save game. So I'm going to do that later. For now, I'm just going to set up a default selection. Yeah. But I'm also going to start working on that now. Okay, so the player save data is this is where I'm gonna put like the last kit you selected. I'm going to put things like if we have like presets and things, I'll put presets in here. So that way, if you want to go in, and you're like, I really like this configuration, and you want to save it as a preset, and then use that preset. We can also display the presets in the class select menu, which would be really cool. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. So I'm gonna use the save data for that. Okay, let's close out this because I need to recompile the engine or recompile the game. So I added the default class selection to the class. So now each class has their own default class selection. That's like the initial options for each item slot, which will be helpful. I think everybody else will, or everybody will appreciate being able to change that at will in the class options. So I need in here a T map of U and character class and U imp. The F imp character class selection. Yeah. And just have like a really easy way to swap between classes, because right now swapping between classes is just kind of a clusterfuck. Where you have to like go into that drop down menu to select the class, and then you have to like press all the buttons. If you could set a preset and then save it to a list, so you just when you die you press enter to open up the selection list, and then click the preset, and then you spawn in with that preset. Oh, that'd be so much. That would be so nice. It'd be so nice. And we can do the same for vehicles too. We can have a big list of vehicles, like the default. You have your default, whatever option is for each of your vehicles, like default Jeep, default APC, whatnot. Oops. And then as you can set up a preset that you want, and it shows up in the list along with the defaults. So you can just like click it and spawn it. That'd be so nice. Okay, what was the error? Oh boy. Uh, I like mods personally. Um, I will disagree with some of the choices that some of the people made in some of the mods, but I fucking love mods myself. So the fundamental aspect of like, yeah, sure, let's allow people to just change things. I want to make sure that I think the big issue right now is that it's very difficult to tell what is officially intended by the developers and what is modded in Empires, because there's no indication that somebody has modified the scripts and what those scripts modifications actually mean. Um, and I think resolving that problem right there would go a long way to ending the drama, because then you see, oh well, the server has these modified scripts and that this is how the modification works. But like, and if we go an official modding route, and I used air quotes but you can't see my air quotes, um, if we go an official modding route, then we list, oh, okay, these are the mods, this is their Steam Workshop page, and the Steam Workshop page should ideally have a description of what the mod does. So I think that'll go a long way to solving a lot of those problems. Because I think it's more of a communication issue. I don't think it's not a problem. There's no fundamental issue. Like, the argument is between whether or not people should be able to modify the game or whether or not the game should be played as the developers intended. And the short answer is, why can't we live with both? Why can't we have a situation where we have a bunch of people, a game where the developers intend with the specific design balance and things like that? Yeah, exactly. Have like a official list of servers and a modified list of servers, stuff like that. Like there's ways to get around this problem. But I fundamentally think that yes, the fact that Mr. X modified his server is great. I think that's great. I may disagree with some of the changes he made personally. That's fine. I mean, everybody's going to have their own opinion on how the game should play. But the fact that he's able to do that and test it and find out and then make more changes later, that's fine. Whatever. Everybody has their opinions on how the game should play. So everybody's opinion, the only valid opinions are the ones the only valid way to argue game design opinions is to play those opinions out in a gameplay scenario and talk about what you experienced. That's the only valid way to have those discussions, and the only way to have those discussions is to allow it to happen. I don't think we'll hit modding perfectly on the first try, because it's going to be a long slog to get modding working, but we need to be able to play ideas, so... Because, like, I see it on the Empires Discord. There's people arguing, I think actually we both talked about this, whether or not radar should spot buildings. I actually very fundamentally think radar should spot buildings. But the problem that people have but one, we need to play it, whether or not radars can spot buildings or not. Two, I have an idea of like this kind of half spot idea where instead of actually like giving a full readout of what that object is that has been spotted, I feel like all automated spotting options, like the camera, the radar, the vehicle radar, and even enhanced senses for the scout, I think they should half spot, which is just a blip on the map. Like, there's something here. You don't know what it is. You have absolutely no clue what this object is. But there is something there. You should go check it out. You should go put eyes on it. And I think we need to play it. I don't think that mechanic... I don't want to put that mechanic in initially, because I want to try to get a one-to-one port of how Empires works in Unreal Engine. But once we do have that, those are the things I want to experiment with. Like, okay, yeah, so we added this mechanic for half spotting. What does half spotting... What should half spotting be used for? Okay, so... Classes, imp. So I need to actually make more classes. So I'm just going to make all the classes now. Oh yeah, this is the shitty canyon. This is the imported map from Half-Life 2 engine, the BSP. It's garbage. It's hottest of hot garbage. This is the remastered canyon that God, who was working on this? Smithy, I think. I forget who was working on this one. The remastered canyon. It looks way better. Relaying. Stream delay is a thing. But I love this map. I cannot wait to play this shit in game. It feels a little small in some places, so there may need to be some modifications, but that's Empires. Yeah, no, I know they've been remastered before. But this is the Empires remaster, and it is gorgeous. This is using the Brushify shader pack and a bunch of marketplace assets for like the rocks and shit. I think we also figured out how to make. Procedurally sculpt rocks and things. There were some screenshots of it in the level design channel. Yeah, just practice. Make maps. Feel free to start making maps and submitting them to the repository and all that kind of stuff. More maps we have, the better. But yeah. It looks so much better than the Source engine. Like... Yeah, no, this was I believe you're going to have to ask whoever authored this map. I believe what happened was they imported the map and then used it as and then just kind of painted over it with terrain. So there's some screenshots of like the original canyon map terrain on top, like layered on top of this. And you can see the original canyon map terrain like peeking out of some of these like slopes and things because the slopes aren't perfect. They're not like vertical walls like they are in the actual in the source map, but it's roughly the same scale. So, and then we have a vehicle factory. Yeah, I think the scale is smaller than it should be. No, scale's right. The dudes are all small because of that, but. Jeep is super loud. I need to fix the sound on that. But yeah. This is gonna be a lot of fun to play, I think. I can't wait to run around on this map. It feels a little different. It feels a lot more foresty, and I like it that way. And like little things like these rocks. This is where like that those pillars would have been. I still think the scale is a little wrong, but we may just need to scale it up. I actually just put the Brushify Monument Valley stuff in the repository, so that one's all yours. M Valley is awesome. I have there should be a height map that I found from a long time ago. It actually might be your height map, or somebody made a height map of M Valley, and I found it like back in, I don't know, 2010, 2011. Anyway, there's a height map. So you can just import the height map, set the scaling up, and then paint it. And then figure out what the heck to do with the bridge or the dam and the bridges. Because we can't use any of those assets because those are all Source Engine assets. So they're like default on Half-Life 2 assets. So we got to build our own or something. But yeah. Oh no. Go away. Error messages, go away. Why aren't these error messages going away? There they go. Yeah, larger maps is a big thing to talk about as a team and as a community. Um, Empire's maps are small, so if we start expanding them, that's going to change a lot of the balance of the game and how things happen. It's like playing Cyclopean today was like, Cyclopean is the biggest map, one of the biggest maps in Empires. And that map for the Source Engine is fucking huge. But it's actually really tiny. Like, you could sit in your main base and shoot the other team's main base, no problem. Like, there's not a lot of maneuvering you can do. You have the 4 bridges, or the 4, like, routes, and then you have the middle of the map, and that's like it. You can't do much more than that. But then with a much larger map, you can have, like, I don't know, you could double the length of the bridge between the main and the city, and then add a bunch of interesting stuff in the middle there, and now suddenly you've got this, like, area to battle in that would not have been possible, and you just start expanding the map, and then travel time comes into play. How many resource nodes should actually be in the game, where to place bases, and all this information. Like, you have all these options with much larger maps. That I would absolutely love to solve these problems. Like, but it's a like, we have to sit down and think, okay, how fast should vehicles be in bigger maps? Like, should they remain the same speed? Should we have more vehicles? Like, what even is some of the design decisions we need to make in order for this to work? That's big ones, big questions. I'm excited for it, personally. Like, I don't think it'll be that big of a deal, though, if we have larger maps. Like, the actual map... Why are they not showing up? There should be 8 classes total. Did I completely blow up everything by making that error? I might have to restart the editor. Back. Maybe I just had to restart the editor. Yeah, they all are. I should probably make these coherent names. Oh, they are. I wonder why the names are wrong. Yeah, hopefully with the way I'm building everything right now, we'll be able to add new classes, we'll be able to add new factions, stuff that would have been prohibitively difficult in Source Engine, we can just do. Like, for example, I just made all the classes right there. And now I'm just double checking to make sure they all have the same name, or their names are all proper. So, like, there they are. If I wanted to create a new class, let's call it the Medic. I can just right click, or duplicate this guy, turn him into the Medic, which is exciting. It'll be very interesting to see. Okay, so class items. So primary, secondary, grenade, and utility. Then skill 1, skill 2. I have a predicted projectile system that I built for another game that we're using. So ballistics, we can do what we want to do with them. Is the short answer to that. So for now, I'm not setting up. I'm not really setting up the. I'm not properly setting up things right now for the different classes. So like the engineer will be able to hold any rifle, any pistol, any grenade, any utility, and any skill. So I'm not really setting up. I'm not really setting this up to be too difficult or too like. We'll have to go through this and actually fix what things are available to what things are available to which class. But I want to just get this up and running, so that way we can just sit around here and fuck around in data to make things do what we want it to do. But yeah, ballistics are just something. Ballistics are something we can do, however we want. It's not super. There's tools that we can make use of in the engine, but it's not like super baked in. Yeah. Okay, copy that. No, it's not gonna let me bulk edit them. That's lame. Oh, no, it did. Perfect. All the slots are set. Now for defaults. Yeah, I have bleachers on this playlist. I have to figure out. Okay, so now that I have the classes all set up, so they should now show up. Yep, there they are, all 4 classes. And if I swap to, if I load it as NF, they would do the same. Okay, I might still be whatever. Nice. You know what I need to do? I need to add a weighting to these classes. So everyone's gonna bitch if engineer is on the bottom of the list. If they even once see engineer on the bottom of the list, they're gonna bitch. Let's put it at 50. Rifleman. So I'm just doing a simple weighting system here, which is just set some values. The highest value will be at the top of the list, lowest value will be at the bottom. Let me do that real quick. Here. How the hell does this work? To create a comparator, do this. Create a function that has two input parameters, object and object, and one output parameter, boolean. Support the parameter. Use the create event blueprint and set its value to the function created. There we go. Alright, just double check and make sure I'm doing the right one. This is going to be an annoying blueprint setup, but I want to do it. Okay. No, well, I'm a C++ programmer, so I've been programming C++ for most of my life. So Blueprint was just easy breezy, just because when I realized Blueprint was just bound to C++ functions, it was super easy. In fact, I prefer Blueprint in certain situations, personally. Okay, get that. So it cares if it is greater than or less than. Return true if A is smaller than B. So if A is less than B. Like UI work, I much prefer Blueprint. Yeah, this is okay. So there are two types of blueprints. There is the logic tree here. This is blueprint visual scripting. And then there are blueprints, which are like, you can think of them like class data. Like, for example, those aren't technically blueprints. For example, here we have our barracks, right? This is a barracks blueprint. This whole object is the blueprint. Because it has all of the individual props inside and things like that, the meshes, and then you can use blueprint visual scripting to make this thing do things. Like this one, this right here sets some spawn transforms, and this pops the crates down to the terrain. So context matters. The logic tree is known as, like, when I say blueprint, I'm like saying the barracks is a blueprint because right now it's the actual C++ object is an actor. Eventually it will be an Empire's building, a imp building. So yeah, it depends on the context of what blueprint is referring to. But for the most part, when you're a level designer, all you have to think about is blueprint is like a prefab. Though if you want to do a little bit of light logic for your game, then you use blueprint visual scripting for that. Which you can also, in your level, open a level blueprint and script the level, which is kind of cool. This is kind of synonymously. This is synonymous to like logic in source engine maps, but without logic entities. Fucking with your entity limit. Where was I? Right. Sorting. Okay. That sorting should have worked. Okay. Made everybody even more mad. Oh, I swapped back here and hit the checkbox. There we go. Engineer, Rifleman, Grenadier, Scout. So, higher weight ends up at the top of the list, lower weight ends up at the bottom of the list. Yep. You could, like, if you wanted a door to open up, or maybe a spaceship to fly by. I don't know who would ever want a spaceship to fly by in their map. But, like, if you had a bunch of buttons that you needed to press a sequence of buttons, you could script that in the level blueprint, and, like, create like a button object that reports back when a player walks up and presses E, and then listen to all of those blueprints and wait for the order in which they're pressed. And if somebody presses out of order, just like reset the sequence or something like that. I don't know who would ever put a spaceship in the map. That would be silly and absurd. Who would do that? Grizzly. Grizzly. He told me he was doing it before. Me and him used to play EVE Online together. And he told me he was doing it. And I was like, lol, you're not going to do it. And he's like, okay, well, go press these buttons. And he told me the button sequence. And I did it, and it flew by. I was the first one to reveal it. It was great. I was back in the olden days. I love that. Okie dokie. Next up. So for now, I want these entries to just display default selection. Um, hate it when I do that. There we go. Okay, so set the name of the class, set its yeah, me and Grizzly and Scout BZ played a bunch of games together back in the day. We used to play Natural Selection, which hilariously I now work with one of the guys that did NS Radio. Yeah, we are co-owners for Unreal Engine. They have a Python scripting like layer, but it's kind of garbage actually. Besides, with Python, I can't make so many beautiful graphs in Blueprint. Naming variables is hard. This one is called object. Okay, so that should be the selected items here. Yeah, that should be it. And then the selected item display. Does exactly what I want it to do. Alright, let's see if it works. Yeah, it did something. It didn't do what I wanted it to do, but it did something. I only did it once. It should have done it for all of these. Unless I didn't actually add the selected item. Where's this error? I'll fucking deal with that later. I said that last time. Oh, okay, yeah. No, I only put it on one thing. Herpy derpy. This is what, the Bernardi engineer that had it? What happened to the past few classy system? It's going. I have my classes now. They're all set up. When you run the list, they now show up. I even added sorting, which Pronam you don't know, but the Empires community is very, very, very specific about which order the classes have to be in the class list. And if they're wrong in any way, it spawns endless discussion and debate on which order they should be. And I'm talking years and years worth of debate on the order of these classes. So they're in the right order now. And now they're supposed to be showing a little icon right here if they are of what the item selected is. But you do spawn as that item. Well, okay, so what I'm going to try to do here is the classes can be customized pretty significantly, actually. Each class, they have 4 weapon slots, and they have 4 skill slots. And if you hit the customize button here, as you can see, it doesn't work yet. But when you hit the customize button, then it brings up a customization menu to select your weapons and your skills and all that kind of fun stuff. What I was going to do is I was going to create a preset system where you can press a button to create a preset, and that preset shows up in this list, just like if it were another class. So, well, I should add a indication that it's a default selection if it's there. Yes, the sort order is, so engineers, I don't know if you've ever played Empires, but Empires is an RTS FPS, and the RTS element is powered by engineers. You have a commander that drops building, and engineers who build the buildings. So if you don't have engineers, then nobody builds the buildings, and the whole RTS thing falls apart. Engineers also do other things, like they heal infantry and also revive infantry. So they're kind of important. Engineers are kind of the utility kit of the class or the class list in Empires. And while I have my opinions on whether or not they should do as much as they do, they are the most important class in Empires. And so, back in the old days, like in 2007, 2008, Scout used to be the #1 class on the top of the list. And people would just spawn in a Scout with a sniper rifle by default. And that was if you didn't change your class at all, you spawned in as a Scout with a sniper rifle. People hated that. Boy, did they hate that. That was discussed and debated for years, and then finally they changed it so Engineer with Repair upgrade was the default class and selection for anybody. If you don't press any button and you just spawn in as an Engineer with Repair upgrade. So that is the story of why the class selection list, the order of which objects on the class selection matter. So I actually implemented a weighting system right here, so you can actually weight the different classes on the UI. So I can just like change it so the rifleman's below grenadier or whatnot. Such is life in the Empires community. This is a game with a decade and a half of history and people playing it, so. Okay, what's next? So I have that. I need to fix the little button showing up. I need to add more guns so that they show up in the list. Honestly, I'm just going to have an empty default selection for these things. So there's the primary slot. This is secondary. This is secondary utility, right? And then grenade. And skill 1. Skill 2. Skill 3. Skill 4. Nope. You can have all engineers, all riflemen, whatever. There's no limits. It's for better or worse, I would say. Okay, now I should have buttons. Okay. Yep, there we go. So the idea here is that these little icons right here are going to show an image of what you have selected. That'll be your previous selection on that class, since this is the default class and not a this is a default class and not an override or preset. And then we'll have like your own presets that you can put in here. But I'll do that later, because I don't really want to do that right now. I should make it so you automatically select the engineer class to start with. Spawn screen. Not spawn screen. Spawn screen is the master widget. This guy right here. Refresh. If we have an intended class selection, so let's go player. Cast 2 and player controller. So if our intended class selection is valid, then we want to set selected item to be that. And if it's not valid, we select the selected index to be 0, which should be the top item. Was not the top item. Whoops, I did not mean to close the editor. Yeah, I'll just do it later. I want to get the basics of the functionality done right now, and then I'll do it. Like I said, I'll just do it later. Because right now I need to get the class customizer working. And then I think I'll be done for the day. Now, I need to make sure I load all of the classes too at startup. Otherwise they don't show up in the So the way the asset manager works is it is an async loading system. And I need to load all the classes that are going to be available. So I need to figure out how to do that. Well, I don't need to figure it out. I know exactly how to do that. When the map loads, check to see what the two factions are going to be, or what the two factions are in the map, and then with those two factions, load all their classes. So it's not that hard to do. I just need to do it. Okay, so customization button. That's not almost class selection. Class entry widget. Okay, so I got a button. I want to, on click, to do something. Dispatch an event. Okay, nothing important got pinged to me. Let's push this widget. Tutorial. The song is boring. It's good. It's boring. Expose that. What is this? Get rid of it. So when this fires, I need to completely change the mode of the minimap widget and create a new panel. Okay. already have a class configured for now. Okay. Make widget. Make widget. Make widget. Okay, and then on the spawn screen, yeah. Yeah. Boom. You click the customize button, and it shows up there. Okay. I need to make sure I set that to be the active widget though, or the active class. Spawn bar. I'm sorry, this is not on the right screen. Okay. Like customize there. Boom. 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 Okay. Class configurator. Yeah. Sorry, just checking a conversation. Alright, okay, so now I need to design the configurator. So there are a number of slots, and the slots have a number of options. So each slot needs an option, or we need a list of slots that can go in here, and then a list of options that can be selected from that slot, or for that slot. Have a good night, Pronum. Thanks for joining the stream. Appreciate you being here. I'm just going to do this naively. I'm just going to do it as a list of slots. And then inside each element of that list of slots have a list of items that it can be that can possibly be selected. I think I'm just going to do a naive solution here. Because I don't know what it should look like, and I'm not an artist. And we're really just trying to get functionality here. But this is still a massive leap in functionality from what Empires has, which is just really ugly UI. So let's do that. And then I'm coming up on 3 hours, so I think I'm just going to spend another 20 minutes on this. And I'm getting really hungry personally. So once I finish up just this basic listing, then I think I'm going to call it there. So plus I think my cat wants cuddles, so. It's alright, I'm doing this on the wrong screen again. Having 3 screens is nice, but I also forget to put things on the right screens. Okay, so that's that. Class configurator. Something like that. We'll need to adjust this better. That looks actually kind of nice. It'll see easily what your slots are and what items you can get in those slots. I don't hate this. Should have some padding here. Hello. Oh, hey, Crenzo. I'm making cool stuff. Hey, Crenzo. Let me show you something cool. So this is the imported map from Unreal Engine and from Source Engine for Canyon, with a horrible scaling problem that I have no intention of fixing. But the remastered version of Canyon looks amazing. Of course, it's compiling shaders now, but once the shaders compile, I hate that it has to compile shaders every time. I need to figure out why it's doing that. But this was only a couple days of work on the part of Terminator. That was who did this map. He basically took that imported canyon terrain, overlaid it, and then just did a terrain height map and started like painting the height map and putting down some assets and things like that. And then painted a bunch of trees because Unreal Engine can support an absurd number of trees. And unlike Empires in the Source Engine, they have level of detail. It's amazing. It's the future now. Empires is coming into the future. But I'm working on class selection right now. I built a pretty neat class selection UI that I am getting all the little bits working. Yeah, I redid the spawn screen, so it's not multiple sections. So you select your team, you have your classes list right here. It's sorted. It's you can select a spawn point. This mini map obviously is not working. I haven't worked on the mini map yet. But essentially, what will happen is when you click the button up here, you'll select the spawn point on the mini map wherever it is, and then when you select the spawn point on the mini map, it also selects it up here, vice versa. You hit the customize button and you get a customization screen, which I'm currently working on. I'm actively working on it, and none of these buttons work. And then you can spawn. And then there's also other gameplay elements too. I just haven't. There's a car you can drive around in. Gun, loud. But yeah, making some progress. Damage and death works, and you can respawn and everything. Where was I? Oh yeah, class configurator. So that's text. I've set everything up. There's built-in vehicle physics, but I wrote my own for another. So I got hired by a company to build a vehicle system for them, and we split the ownership of the vehicle system. So I have ownership of the vehicle system, which is kind of nice. So I don't like the built-in vehicle physics, but there's a new physics engine coming in later versions of Unreal called Chaos. It has much better physics, because right now the big problem is you get stuck on something and your vehicle goes flying. This company really, yeah, it's the Drakeling Labs. They're doing Warfare 1944, which is up on Steam. It should be out. It's in like early access right now. It's a World War II. It's kind of like Red Orchestra meets Battlefield 1942. It's kind of a cool game. It's a lot of fun to play. I can't wait till it's more finished. Okay, so the class has a selection of. I'm rewriting all the way the classes worked, and they're all data driven right now, so we can just make new classes. So like, for example, this is how classes are defined. You have a list of items that which slot they go into, and the type of item it can be. There's default selections, so you can select the default item for selection. It's got basically tags, so you can tag up the class however you want. And then the teams, which are also data-driven, has a filter to pick only available classes, anything that is a Northern Faction class, tagged with Northern Faction. So we could split and share classes and all that kind of stuff. Or we can create new classes, or delete classes, or do whatever we want with classes without hard coding a single damn thing. It's nice. Where was I? Yeah, so I need to get the current class. I need to get all of its item slots. Get class items. Alright, this is a map. Gameplay tag structures to gameplay tag queries. Sure, let's just do it this way. I know, right? I know, right? An engine that doesn't suck. It's amazing. We're investigating ways to punch holes in the terrain so we can do the original plan for tunnels underneath the buildings. We're investigating that. There's somebody who says that it's possible, which will be very interesting to see. So, for each of these entries, I think I need to box the struct, or create an object again. Yeah. Class object. I'm doing I did a bunch of C++ work earlier in the stream, but right now I'm doing a bunch of blueprint stuff because I'm doing a bunch of UI. It's more interesting to watch from streaming. I do a lot of C++ work though. Sure, possible slot entry data. That's the name of this object. And the query for the items. And then I want to construct this object. Create a function. I want to. We're gonna need bigger maps though, but we can do bigger maps. So all of it might all come together. That's like the first thing everybody asks about Unreal Engine UE4 or Unreal Engine Empires is aircraft? Question mark. There's a lot of like 15 years of being on the source engine means that the game is developed for the source engine, and all of the fucking problems that the source engine introduces are so interweaved into everything that Empires tries to do. So like when we throw off those shackles and begin to like, you know, have bigger maps or like have aircraft or things like that, it's like what the fuck is going to break? Like we don't like the game is going to be interesting to say the least. I want to do blimps too. I want to do Battlefield 2142 style Titans as the command vehicle. Though Shandy's working on, Shandy is involved and might be building maps for us, so we're probably going to get blimps. I did play Empires 1942. Oh, check this out. I got this imported the other day. I found the version 2 of the Empires 1942 mod, and I imported the terrain for the island map. I strung together a bunch of programs that were written in like 2001 and 2002, and I decompiled everything and ripped them to pieces, and it was the most amazing tool chain I've ever put together. But I found the height map and I imported it because it's a raw 16-bit height map. Imported into Unreal Engine, no problem. There's another map here too, Polaris 2. This is from the first version of the Battlefield 1942 mod, and I have absolutely no idea. I've never seen this map before in my entire life. I don't know what it is, but it imported. It's amazing. I don't know where the water is supposed to go, or what any of the textures are supposed to look like, or where any of the teams are supposed to be, but I think this is it. Whatever it is, whatever Polaris 2 was, I don't know. I don't know if it's the ice map. I also found the canyon map. I haven't gone through the process to do the canyon map, but yeah. Eventually, we'll get the Brushify pack because there's we're using the marketplace asset Brushify to do all the terrain texturing. That's what we used for the canyon map. I'm gonna trust you on whether or not it's the ice map or not. But yeah, we used Brushify to do procedural textures on the terrain. And that's why it took like only a couple days to do this canyon map. It's because we use procedural texturing. So I'm just gonna slap it on one of these maps and see what happens. Like, we have an entire like tropical biome, and this is the cliffs biome. We have a Monument Valley biome, which is perfect for M Valley. Yeah. So yeah, I want to get the Battlefield 1942 maps into this as well, so they'll be on rotation. I have not imported money yet. I will import money. It's gonna happen. Money, Escort, and I think District are going to be the easiest maps to import from Half-Life 2 or the Source Engine, because they're all like really easy to import brushes. Yeah, people hate money. Yes, that's why I'm gonna do it. Like, really? But it's the easiest map that's going to be imported because it's all like square brushes, so it'll look not terrible. Unlike the fucking imported canyon map, which looks garbage because all of the displacement's imported, but they look bad. They look really bad. This is going to be the configuration screen, by the way. I'm not good at UI design, so this is going to be like the primary slot, secondary slot, grenade slot, utility slot, and then there'll be a list of items that go this way, of all the stuff that can go in these slots. Yeah, Empires Battle Royale, you could do it. The inventory. So we're using an inventory system, a vehicle system, and a team system I built for other games, and I'm just kind of duct taping them together, honestly, to make Empires. Yeah, we could like throw your primary weapon away and grab a new one. Pick up the BEAR off the ground. Go to town. What was I doing? Right, I was constructing this object. Yeah. We were talking about making a game mode specifically for larger scale games. And maybe even having more players than 64. Maybe. But yeah, there's a lot we could do. The engine doesn't fucking hate us, so... and is not going to fight us every single possible chance it can. Yep. There's a tool called Replication Graph, which allows you to spatialize your networked objects and determine based on where they are in the world, like what their update rate is, whether or not you can even see them, all kinds of stuff. And it puts it into little spatial buckets. It's kind of like a broad phase algorithm for a physics engine. Which will be very nice. But I'm also designing everything to be as like as moddable as possible, which is why everything's like super data driven and those like you're doing queries and you have item slots and things like that. Because that way somebody can go in and change these queries and change all these stuff, so that way mods can just like, I want to add shotguns to the game, throw shotguns on different classes. We were joking earlier. I had Scout as the #1 class again, the default class that you could when you like looked at the class select screen, Scout was on top. That was going to be inevitable. That it was going to everyone was going to fight over that again. Years and years and years and years and years of people fighting over that. And then I want to get the values. Yeah, so I added a sorting system. Okay, that needs an output. Okay. Go away. Go away. Okay, it's gone. Okay. So that's that. Let's test this real quick. Should give me all the slots. Customize. No slots. And an error message. In neither of those places that matter. I'm not even calling this function. Herpy-derp. Last entry widget. Boom. Slots. Configuring engineer. Configuring rifleman. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Now to add for each element in its selection. So I need to add elements here. It just needs to be the item generator, yeah? Yeah. Okay, cast to EP possible slot entry data. For now, we're going to set the slot name just to be the gameplay tag. And then we need to add entries to its list. Matching item generators. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so now we got slots showing up. The primary has a list of items. I'll need to modify this a little bit, adding the name and making it visible selection. But now I can add, now we can just select things. Let's do that real quick, and then I'm gonna call it there. Entry. On entry object set, implement function. And then on selection change, implement function. Okay, so image. So we want to set the item name and then that image. This is a very poorly implemented system. Need to fix that up. I can say it because I was the one who implemented it. Alright, now this should be working. Go to Customize, Engineer, and there it is, Bernardi Assault Rifle. And once I add guns for everything else, it should be working. Alright, I'm gonna make a video of this, because it's kind of cool. Video done. That'll be in the monthly update. Alright, my friends, I'm going to shut it down for now. That's about all I wanted to do today. What remains is I need to get that class selection change forwarded back to and submit it so that you spawn with it. Right now you do spawn with your class, but not with your items. And I need to make it so you spawn with your items. Now that you selected it, I need to add presets and saving them. So I want to add it so that you can save a class loadout to a preset, and then once you save it to a preset, it shows up in the class list as like any other class, which so you can create like an engineer medic preset that is your revive and extra healing and whatnot. So I got to do that. I'm gonna save that in the Unreal Engine save game object, and then I just got to bring it all together. So I'm probably gonna do that tomorrow. I might stream it. I'll probably stream it. But I am hungry and I'm gonna go get food. So have a good night, everybody, and thank you for watching, everybody who watched. Toodles.